So the Find X8 and the Find X8 Pro are the first Oppo flagships to actually hit the UK since the Find X5 series. So welcome back, you beautiful bugger. And this here Oppo Find X8 Pro is the Billy Big Bollocks of the pair, boasting a whopping great gorgeous OLED display, Mediatek Dimensity 9400 smarts, a ruddy huge battery and a quad 50 meg camera setup complete with an iPhone style shutter button, which hopefully doesn't massively suck. So let's whip the Oppo Find X8 Pro on out of the box, take you on a full hands-on tour ahead of my in-depth review which is coming next week. And for more on the latest and greatest tech, please do subscribe and ding that notifications bell. Cheers! So what do you get in that there box, besides of course the Oppo Find X8 Pro? Well, we've got an 80 watt Super VOOC adapter, a tasty bit of USB cable action, and oh yes, Oppo has kindly bundled a condom case to keep your shiny new Find X8 Pro safe from harm. And besides the usual quick start guide, guff, etc., that's basically your lot. So here he is, the Oppo Find X8 Pro, all glorious 6.8 inches. So yes, it is a proper full-on hand filler despite the relatively skinny bezels surrounding that display, but pretty comfortable to clutch as well thanks to the curved corners, etc. And those edges are ever so slightly rounded as well. It's not a full-on flat iPhone style experience. And also that screen is just ever so slightly curved at all four edges, just kind of lifting it above the frame. This reminds me of some of Xiaomi's more recent flagships. But yeah, certainly incredibly subtle as far as curved screens go, so no issues at all with responsiveness. Your palm doesn't intrude on that display. Now flip the Oppo Find X8 Pro around and you won't have to squint too hard to spot the Cosmos Ring camera, because it is actually the size of the f***ing Cosmos. Absolutely dominates that arse end, but then that seems to be very much the style these days. But the main thing for me is that it doesn't actually poke too far out of the back, so it's not an absolute nightmare trying to squeeze this thing into your pants. And when it's safely ensconced in your pocket, it doesn't feel like you're being constantly and enthusiastically poked and prodded by a junior doctor. You got yourself a couple of colour options, space black or this here pearl white. And this actually sports a multi-layered design that does indeed have a pearl-esque kind of finish. If you peer really hard and the light catches it just so, you'll notice these kind of striations across the surface. And apparently every Oppo Find X8 Pro is unique because that finish is just slightly different. And I was very happy to see that Oppo has slapped on the old alert slider that we know and love from those OnePlus phones. So you can swiftly and merrily skip between full-on ring modes. You've got the vibrate setting in the middle, and then up at the very top, silent, bugger off, leave me alone. As for the water and dust resistance, well, the Oppo Find X8 Pro is IP69 rated, not just IP68 like most other flagships. So not only can it be fully submerged in water, but it can also happily tolerate powerful hot jets of liquid right in its face. A trick that it happened to pick up from your mum. So the Find X8 Pro looks rather lovely, and the software that's running on it is even lovelier. Good bit of ColorOS 15 action based on Android 15. Complete with 5 OS updates, you're covered all the way up to Android 20 and 6 years of security patching on top. Now ColorOS is of course remarkably similar to Oxygen OS, which I recently covered in a full dedicated review. So you'll notice that yes, you've once again got these separate notifications and control center panels. Swipe down the right hand side for the control center and the left hand side for those notifications. If you're not a fan of this setup though, you can change it back to the classic system where they're both combined. You do now have an Apple style floating turd jobby which pops up at the top of the screen when you're playing a bit of media or whatever. Can give that a tap to bring up a media card, which you can then use to skip tracks, etc, etc. But unlike the iPhone, if you're not a fan, you can just flick it away like so. You've also got the Flux themes, which are pretty cool, even if they do seem to take inspiration from Samsung's recent handsets. And hey, if you happen to be playing the AI game where you smash back a shot every time some gormless YouTube tech twat bangs on about artificial intelligence, well, prepare to lose your bloody mind. You do of course have Google's Gemini assistant built in here, as you'd expect, and a good bit of circle to search, naturally. And of course, don't forget the AI photo editor shenanigans. Pretty handy if your pic gets ruined by bloody seagulls and random blokes. You can enhance the clarity, slightly unblur shaky shots, and of course get rid of annoying stuff. Let's see if we can fully obliterate this chip stealing bastard as well. Pretty close, still got a little shunky bit there. Let's try and ditch that too. And there you have it, quite the improvement. And you've also got to admire Oppo's AI Summary and AI Speak features, which actually work across multiple web browsers, including Google Chrome. This can magically summarize an article or a review or anything you can't be bothered to actually read yourself online. Just give you the general gist of what's involved. Or alternatively, AI Speak can read it out loud for you, and an AI voice that does sound terrifyingly human, and yes, it thankfully cuts out all of the annoying marketing ad bollocks that breaks up the article. And the Oppo Find X8 Pro sports a mighty 6.78-inch display with a 1264 by 2780 pixel resolution. Can hit around 1600 nits in high brightness mode. And you've also got 2160Hz PWM dimming on here, so first impressions, certainly good. And you got yourself a stereo speaker setup here on the Oppo Find X8 Pro, so let's bump up that volume, see what we're working with. So the OnePlus 12 is of course already a proper certified banger, and now it's even more glorious because OxygenOS 15 is here, adding a shag load of nipple-tingling bonus features. So that volume's certainly respectable, reasonably bassy audio as well, not too bad at all. But one of the features I'm most intrigued by here on the Oppo Find X8 Pro is the performance, because this is the first smartphone I've fondled with Mediatek's Dimensity 9400 running the show. And first impressions, certainly solid. The Dimensity 9400 seems to handle everyday running perfectly, and ColorOS 15 is as smooth as a lump of lard. Oppo's Trinity engine is also ticking away in the background, helping out by managing your apps and processes just to make sure nothing is hogging memory when it's just running in the background or whatever. But of course I will be really testing the Find X8 Pro's mettle with a good bit of gaming on the likes of Call of Duty, Wuthering Waves, all my favourites. See how it handles all of that. And Oppo has slapped a dedicated cooling system onto the Find X8 Pro as well, with usual vapor chamber, graphene sheet, thermal gel type shenanigans. So here's hoping it can stay cool under pressure. And Oppo has also managed to somehow find room inside of this lovely bugger for a 5,910 mAh capacity battery. Bit of a whopper there. So I certainly expect if you start the day fully charged that by the end of the day, when you're all tucked up with Teddy, you'll still have a significant amount of charge left, even if you're rinsing that camera tech, doing a good bit of gaming, etc. But again, stay tuned for that full Find X Pro review to see what I reckon. I'll have my SIM slapped in there for a couple of weeks, giving it a full proper real world testing. The good news is, even if you do need to give it an emergency battery boost, where you got 80 watt Super VOOC wired charging on here and 50 watt wireless charging too. And apparently if you hoy a bit of extra cash at Oppo, they will give you a magnetic charger complete with a compatible case that you'll need to slap on, otherwise it just won't work by itself as the phone itself isn't magnetic. And last up for this lovely wee Oppo Find X8 Pro unboxing, let's have a squint at that Hasselblad branded quad 50 meg camera setup. So you've got a 23mm primary shooter using Sony's LYT 808 sensor. You've also got yourself an ultra-wide shooter using Samsung's ISOCELL JN5. And then it's a dual telephoto setup as well. You've got yourself a 73mm lens with 3x optical zoom using Sony's IMX882 sensor. And then the secondary option is a 6x optical zoom lens, this time using Sony's IMX858. And oh yes, for the Find X8 Pro, Oppo has actually slapped a proper dedicated camera button on there. Now this isn't actually a physical button, so you're not actually pushing it in, but you do get a bit of haptic feedback when you press on it, so it feels like a physical button. However, just like the camera button on the iPhone 16 Pro Max, I'm not a fan of the positioning of this button. It's been shunted in towards the center of the phone, so when you're using it, just doesn't feel natural or comfortable. It's just a bit awkward. And I much preferred the camera button to be here, closer to the corner, so you're not leaning in like so. Of course, I will be fully testing this out for my review, and as you can see, you can actually slide your finger across the surface of that button to zoom in and out, just like on the iPhone. But unlike the iPhone, you can actually press and hold to burst shot. Up to 50 photos in total at the rate of about 7 photos a second. So probably pretty handy if you're trying to snap kids or pets or whatever. Here's a whole bunch of photo samples that I've snapped so far on the Oppo Find X8 Pro. You got Oppo's Hypertone Image Engine handle and post-shot processing with an emphasis on natural looking images. But of course I'll be delivering my full final verdict in just over a week with my in-depth review. And of course you've got the usual smart scene shenanigans, you've got all kinds of different filters and everything, beauty modes, etc. You've got the master mode. This includes full pro controls if you so desire. You've also got the ability to shoot in RAW format, the portrait mode, and if you dive on into more, you've got the likes of the night mode, the high res mode. And if you swap to video mode as well, you've actually got the ability to shoot 4K Dolby Vision HDR video at 60 frames per second across all 4 of these lenses. And oh yeah, that 4K 60 FPS Dolby Vision recording also supported by the Oppo Find X8 Pro's selfie cam. And there you have it, my lovelies. That in a tasty wee nutshell is Oppo's fresh new Find X8 Pro flagship blower. My sim's already slapped in there, so I'll be thoroughly testing it for the next fortnight, seeing if the gaming performance is up to snuff, if the camera tech is really all of that, see how the battery life is, yada yada yada. But in the meantime, it'd be great to hear your thoughts on the Oppo Find X8 Pro down below. Are you as giddy as a small child who's had far too much Haribo, or could you really not give two shiny shits? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments. Please do poke, subscribe, and ding that notifications bell for more on the latest and greatest tech, and have yourselves a ruddy, wonderful rest of the week. Cheers everyone, love you.